Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
There's a
彭博社报道，中国计划向伊朗提供400枚健康式导弹，中方对此有何评论？ China has made its position clear on relevant issues on multiple occasions. The reports are not true and not factual at all. China always works for peace and the end of the conflict.
Way to get Putin to change course in some way, or is that, China just...
So the reason I think they could is, if you remember, because it was on your watch, in January 22, there was a brief Russian military foray into Kazakhstan to interfere in Kazakhstan's succession. And I believe that the Chinese told the Russians, get out right now, or we will sever trade with you. And the Russians obeyed. I don't think Russia could prosecute the war, and I don't think she could survive as a state without trade with China. So this would be a credible threat. So China, unlike us, actually could force Russia to end the war. But my guess is that the war suits China just fine. Russia is selling them gold. Russia, with every year, becomes more dependent. And what's not to like about that?
I want to ask you a few questions about the attack NATO. Do you think they are looking to escalate against NATO in some other way now, or they're just going to keep doing this pattern of hybrid warfare that you and John were just talking about?
Well, you were at the White House in the run-up to the invasion of Ukraine, so you know that for Russia to do anything serious in Ukraine, she would need to concentrate forces. And we would immediately see that. You can't attack NATO with a battalion. You would need many, many divisions, right? The gathering of forces against Ukraine took them 6 months, a year. They would do it the classic way on the pretext of an exercise and all that. But still, we would know well in advance. So he's not really capable of a running start invasion of NATO. What he's capable of is some kind of provocation that in their mind would show East Europeans that NATO is pathetic and would not react. Well, first of all, we would react.
Naszą intencją jest, żeby Ukraina nie przegrała tej wojny. Po mojej rozmowie z Zeleńskim sprawa jest dość ewidentna. Najbliższe 100 dni może rozstrzygnąć o tej wojnie. I to jest 50/50. Dużo jest mechanizmów w rękach prezydenta Stanów Zjednoczonych, kilku innych osób. Wielkie znaczenie mają decyzje na przykład Ilona Muska, jeśli chodzi o Starlinki i inne systemy. Więc trochę też poza polityką to w jakimś sensie się dzieje. Ale wielkie znaczenie ma też, co Polska będzie robiła. Pamiętacie Państwo sytuację, to już kilkakrotnie mieliśmy ten problem z interpretacją. Różnie wiadomo, jest też rosyjska dezinformacja. No nie muszę nikomu tłumaczyć, że Rosja będzie stawała na głowie, żeby oczyścić się tutaj z odpowiedzialności. Z panem premierem Kosiniakiem-Kamyszem szanując rekomendacje prokuratury, aby nie rozstrzygać o wyniku postępowania i badania, ono bardzo szybko tutaj jest przeprowadzane, więc oczywiście my nie rozstrzygamy tego ostatecznie, ale według oceny ekspertów wojskowych zdecydowana większość śladów, w tym odnalezione elementy, wskazują na rosyjską rakietę CH-101. Myśliwce ukraińskie do samej granicy z Polską monitorowały i starały się niszczyć te pociski, które zmierzały w stronę polskiej granicy. Nie ma żadnych powodów sądzić, że celem była Polska, ale 2 z tych obiektów naruszyły przestrzeń powietrzną Polski. Znaczy jeden na pewno, bo tutaj mamy jego ślady, a drugi w pobliżu polskiej granicy, ale to był bardzo krótki sygnał, więc z nim nie było związanych żadnych konsekwencji.
עזוב רגע, אם אתה מאמין שאנחנו עם הנצח, לאיפה אתה ממהר?
אנחנו בכותרות לא בגלל דיבורים, אנחנו בכותרות בגלל מעשים. העולם אוהב אותנו חלשים, אחרי הטבח כולם חיבקו אותנו. כשאנחנו נטבחים ונשחטים, כל העולם אוהב אותנו, וברגע שקמנו ונתעודד, והתחלנו להחזיר מקחת אפיים לאויבים שלנו, גם בעזה, גם בלבנון, סוריה המשטר שם נפל וחיסלנו את הצבא שאסד בנה נגדנו ב-40 שנה, וגם באיראן אחר כך. כשאנחנו חזקים העולם לא אוהב אותנו. עכשיו עזוב רגע את מה לא, בסדר, נזהר בדיבורים. תגיד לי מה אתה מציע? זה לא קשור לימין ולשמאל. אתה יודע, אמר לי וויטקוף בפעם הראשונה שהוא הגיע לכאן, שהוא נכנס לתפקיד, כן, כשטראמפ נכנס לכהונה השנייה שלו, אז הוא היה בעזה, הראו לי את סרטון הזוועות, הוא פגש אותי למחרת יחד עם השר לשעבר רון דרמר, והוא אמר לי, תשמע, אנחנו לא ניתן ל2 מיליון נאצים להמשיך לגור לכם ליד הגדרות. עכשיו בסדר, יכול להיות שאחר כך דברים השתנו. אני כן חושב שבמאמץ בינלאומי, זה נכון שתוך כדי המלחמה העצימה זה יותר קשה, כי גם מדינות ערב, כן, מצרים לא מאפשרת לפתוח את המיצרים. אני חושב שאפשר לייצר בסוף שילוב אינטרסים, שיאפשר למי שרוצה עוד פעם מרצון לצאת, ויהיו מדינות שיהיו מוכנות לקלוט אותם. כשהמלחמה מתנהלת, בסדר, והכל נורא רגיש בינלאומית וכולי, אז באמת כולם צריכים להיזהר, ויכול מאוד להיות שבשש אחרי המלחמה, כשהמתיחות תירגע, אז לאט לאט אנשים יתחילו לצאת מרצון ויתנו להם, הרי כל מה שצריך זה לפתוח את הגטו. תראה, עזה היא בית הכלא הגדול ביותר בעולם. אנשים מוחזקים שם בכוח, בכפייה, בניגוד לרצונם, ולא נותנים להם לצאת. זה דבר נורא והיום. אגב, על זה אתה, ועל זה שוחרי זכויות אדם, ועל זה העולם היה אמור להתקמם שוב, אלמלא הצביעות הגדולה של העולם, שכן מחזיק את ה...
אבל אנחנו לא פותחים
הוא מאוד אוהב את העזתים.
יש להם...
are so strong, so united. Our young people, it's one of the, there's only one other country that actually fields soldiers who fight, and it's called the United States.
Yeah.
But look at your other allies, so-called allies.
Terrible.
Look at them. I mean, when we fight Iran, we're actually fighting for them. We're fighting this regime that intimidates everyone, that wants to paralyze the international waterways, international commerce, international energy markets. So we're actually fighting the war of the civilized world, but most of the countries are just so to their own hands because I think vigilantism is against the law, and we're taking action against them. But put it in proportion, the vast majority of the settler community, 99.9%, are law-abiding citizens, and we have to live in peace side by side. But we confront terror where we can, and I will certainly not tolerate vigilantism on our side. I don't.
Vice President J.D. Vance recently told Joe Rogan that Israel is attempting to undermine the end to the war in Iran. And I want to quote him. He said that people in your system are manipulating and trying to change American public opinion to keep the war going on. How do you respond to that?
Well, we're not actually. And I had a very good conversation with the Vice President this morning. And I think we straightened that out because that's not our policy. Individuals in our system can have their opinions, but government policy is dictated by me, and that's not our policy.
Welcome back to the SCIF. I am still on the road, but we're back in the United States, back from Beirut.
crazy 49-hour trip. I'll tell you about it sometime. But we are back on it. And wow, what a day. We're getting a lot of reveals, a lot of accountability is starting to come. That's very encouraging. We saw Fauci yesterday. I'll dig into that a little later in the show. We've got a lot of stories to talk about in the Middle East, in Ukraine, just a lot happening. And we want to make you aware of it. And that's what we try to do here is give you a good intel view of what's going on in the world. Not necessarily a political activist show, but just a really good, reset in the morning so you can understand exactly what's happening as opposed to what you're being told across the rest of the media. Got a great show for you today. I've got Rob Cunningham. We're going to talk about the crypto markets and financial change in the U.S. and across the world. I'm looking forward to that. Promethean Action later in the show, and we're going to talk about Fauci in depth with Bill Quinn as well. So a lot to go through. Let's do the mission brief real quick. Today is July 30th. I'm your host, Todd Wood. This is your mission brief. U.S. and Iran trade strikes again last night. Iran tried to do a sneak attack on Jordan, American forces in country, and the Pentagon struck back harshly overnight. Supposedly that has stopped, but we will see. A big earthquake in Japan. That raises a lot of questions. It was on an island where a lot of military assets and the China-Japanese situation or relationship is very tense right now. And so that's important. We'll talk about it. Poland gets hit with a Russian cruise missile. Was it intentional or was it an accident? Was it straight off course by Ukrainian electronic warfare? That's to be seen, but I want to give you the details. The Fauci accountability was fascinating. I'll dig into that a little later in the show. And more Russian sanctions that the White House, or actually Congress, is trying to force on the White House. So, well, a lot to go through. I'm looking forward to talk with Rob. He's always got a wealth of information that I don't know, so I'm looking forward to that. I want to say hello to the crew in the chat. Thank you so much for the engagement. It's fantastic. It's been really popping up lately, and not just here, but across all of our social channels. Really appreciate that. We're well above 8 million on Truth now. That's fantastic. Thanks. Keep it going. Still throttled on X, but we're trying. Also, check out whatfinger.com. It's a great aggregator site that posts a lot of our content. All right, we're going to be right back. I've got Rob Cunningham coming up. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the SCIF.
Every day, your data is being tracked, collected, and sold, often without you even realizing it. Big tech companies control your devices, your apps, and the information you share. From your messages to your browsing habits, everything is being monitored and stored. Over time, we've traded privacy for convenience, and most people don't even question it. But what if you could take that control back? That's where Mark 37 comes in. Mark 37 provides privacy-focused phones, laptops, and tablets designed to give you full control over your digital life. With secure systems, expert support, and simple tools, they make it easier to step away from constant tracking and data collection. Because privacy isn't just a feature, it's a fundamental choice. It's about protecting your data, your freedom, and your future. Take back control of your digital life with Mark 37.
The pandemic, we can never be caught unprepared again. And so many Americans, when COVID hit, they had nothing in the house. Stores were shut down and doctors' offices were shut down. And even if doctors prescribed drugs, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, pharmacists wouldn't fill the prescriptions. That was a nightmare.
Now the situation is much worse. We have these horrible supply chain problems. In our emergency medical kit at the Wellness Company, we have 8 prescription drugs that are all potentially life-saving.
Most people who died with COVID, they died in the hospital because they didn't receive early treatment.
Every American family should have one of these.
I can tell you the Wellness Company kit is the answer.
With my 35 years of experience, our team at U.S. Asset Management can deliver professional investment management, financial planning to help you target your goals, and even specialized divorce financial analysis if you need it. We are here to help you make better decisions with your money. Call U.S. Asset Management today, and let's get to work in your financial future.
So there's been a lot going on in the world with all these wars and international intrigue, but the path to continue to change the global financial system is ongoing. There's been a lot of legislative efforts and regulatory progress, and I want to find out exactly what's happening. So, Rob, thank you for joining me this morning. I appreciate it.
It's an honor. Welcome back stateside, brother.
Thank you very much. How are things in Hotlanta?
They are hot, wet, and things are reflective in Georgia like they are around the world, kind of hot and cooking.
Yeah, no kidding. It's a lot going on, but I want to focus you on the financial markets. I have been remiss. I'm usually pretty up on the markets, but there's been so much happening. But I see the churn going on, the articles in Bitcoin Magazine or Cointelegraph or whatever, what's happening on the all of the crypto regulation and legislation. Can you give us an update?
Sure. There's the always we have to deal with the food fight, right? Mm-hmm. The crazy online divide and conquer, all the noise, and cut through that. Congress recesses next Friday, the 7th. So what do we have? 6 more legislative days to try to get Clarity Act, the Digital Asset and Clarity Market Structure Clarity Act passed. Mm-hmm. Okay. Just over a year ago, they passed the Genius Act, which empowered stablecoin legislation, they codified it into law. Okay. We still, since Bitcoin came alive in 2009 and XRP and the others, came along in 2012, here we are 16 years later, 17 years later, and there is no codified body of law for digital assets, for tokenization, for liquidity, collateral, contracts, and data. How do these blockchains work as a matter of law? How can board defensible CEOs, CFOs, board presidents, compliance officers, regulators in 207 countries know what the rule book is if they've never published a rule book?
Good point.
So the point of the matter is, who does not want clarity and who does? Whose rear end gets cooked when the horses can be let out of the barn? There's board defensible codified legislation that brings all of these blockchains, stable coins, and new monetary regulation into being. Well, you kind of think of it as two. You got the asset managers on one side, if you will, the BlackRocks, and then you got the bankers on the other side, the Jamie Dimons. Well, those that want our world to go from Blockbuster to Netflix, the asset managers and the end users, the ones that have the experience, the ones that want to have low-cost decentralization and interoperability, want the legislation. Those that feast off of usury interest, bounce checks, fees and charges and spreads on your deposit versus your lending don't want this to go anywhere. One side hires the Elizabeth Warren chorus to say that crypto's the mark of the beast and we're all going to die from cancer and we've got to get away from it and it's the most terrible thing in the world. And the other side is about innovation, creativity, and efficiency. So when you really break down this argument, Todd, it's those that want to maintain and preserve their monopoly of power and control over the world versus the technological forces that want to disintegrate that and decentralize it and give the power back to we the people.
Yeah. Where does the City of London fall into this? I mean, are they for, against? What do you think?
Todd, the City of London has been at this game since they nailed Jesus to the cross. As a formal structure, the central banking entities have been in business since the 1600s. The Rothschilds, which are the founding fathers, the Lord Amstel Mayer Rothschild, who changed their last name from Mayer to Rothschild, learned very long ago that the single greatest client on earth is a government that you can lend an infinite amount of money to print it out of thin air, lend it to the government, lend it to 50 governments, and then have the governments pay you back over 40 years with interest. Best business model on planet Earth. Okay.
Sure.
So the City of London is a state entity in and of itself, separate from England, separate from Great Britain. It's a 1 square mile territory on the Thames River with its own flag, its own borders, its own government. Okay. The King and the Queen have to ask for permission to go into the City of London. They have set themselves up in a lawful decree to be above authority, accountability, and rule. They are, and there's 2 other entities that are just set up like this. An extension of the City of London is the Vatican City, and an extension of the City of London is the District of Columbia. 3 non-sovereign, extra constitutional, beyond authority. You've got the military, the money, and the faith buckets covered around the world. So, Todd, I think this might help people understand what the hell is going on in the world. Follow the money. Okay. If the City of London prints the money, and Lord Amstel Rothschild said, I care not who makes a nation's laws as long as I can make the money, because he knew men were corruptible. You could buy them all. There's a price for every person, to justify what they will do for money. So the City of London that prints money controls the IRGC. They control the MI6. They control the CIA. They control the CCP. They control the World Health Organization and make everybody get a shot. They control Anthony Fauci and the NIH. They control everything. They control the seminaries. They control the academia. They control the media. They print the money. It's their private script. We call it a world reserve currency. Well, guess what? Strings come attached with that private script. And you can call them, if you were to understand that the people that don't want the monopoly to be broken up would fund the IRGC, put them in the Middle East, point missiles at 11 countries, and propagate war nonstop, divide, conquer, fear, war, profit off of the division, make money by doing so, and blame it on the Muslims, blame it on the Jews, blame it on the Christians, blame it on America, blame it on MAGA. You can blame it on anybody you want to. Who's profiting from nonstop war?
Well, it's been very obvious that just on that point, since Mossadegh was overthrown by CIA and MI6 in the 50s in Iran to nationalize, because he was going to nationalize the oil industry and bring the money into the country instead of allowing it to go out. So then that connection is obvious today. I mean, they're the ones behind the regime in Iran. I mean, that's been quite obvious. What do you think about Promethean Action's theory that Trump is disrupting that whole connection, and that's what's going on here versus a war? But it's really much bigger than that.
1,000% accurate. These ladies are brilliant. They've been around. Susan Kokenda's been around in California when Robert F. Kennedy Sr. was assassinated, working on his campaign in the late 60s. She's been at this. She's a student of real life and real politics and real banking and real history. She is brilliant. And Barbara Boyd, both of them are fantastic ladies. I'm reaching out to try to do an interview with both of them, and because I can't find a flaw in their logic, Todd. And let me give you an example. In January or February, early 2025, during President Trump's second term, they defunded USAID. USAID is a cutout for the CIA.
Sure.
USAID was an umbrella over 55,000 non-governmental organizations. So money was being printed, shipped to the CIA, sent to 55,000 NGOs without any accountability, supervision, or oversight whatsoever. One of those NGOs was this thing called Politico.
Yeah.
And they would write articles, and then those articles would appear in the Wall Street Journal. And then you would have a nighttime TV show and people would argue over the premises of an article written by an NGO funded by the CIA and get us to fight each other, as if the article itself had any merit. It was just a piece of propaganda. Let me take it one step further. Since the defunding of 55,000 NGOs, 7 or 8 nations in the Western Hemisphere have gone from being leftist to right. They reverse courses because the money source, the hidden money supply, was cut off to these nations doing color revolutions, election fraud, George Floyd riots, divide and conquer, culture destruction through hidden money NGOs. They crimped that hose, and countries went the exact opposite direction.
True fact.
I don't call that coincidence.
You're spot on. So I got you off course, but what do you think is going on in this regulatory legislative environment? I mean, what do you think is going to come out of it, I guess, is the question.
Well, Todd, I believe that it's nothing but great news for the world. It's nothing but great news for America. If you think of this analogy of if there's a big ship sinking, who's the last one off the ship? The captain, right? Sure. It's his responsibility of a big, freighter, big tanker, big cruise ship. If something happens, get the women and children on the boats first, then the men off, and the captain goes last. Okay. The sinking ship of the Federal Reserve, the sinking ship of central banking is going down. Okay. And mainly because it's been torpedoed by the man that came down the escalator in 2015 to flip the table over and sink the boat. Okay. To bring sovereignty and individual currency control back to 207 countries instead of it consolidated in the city of London. Okay, where that decentralization is give us our sovereignty back, and the sovereignty includes a border, governance, and the ability to create our own currency, sound money. Those are just facts. If you want to have a sovereign nation, you have to be in control of your monetary system. Period. End of story.
Sure.
Okay. It can't be the city of London telling us how many genders there are, what to teach our kids, and when we have to go for a regular health checkup. It's none of their business. None of their business. So that being said, the last nation on earth that is going to adopt Clarity Act regulation is going to be the United States. Because why? The entire grid has to be built and stood up. We have seen Japan pass it. We have seen EU pass it. We have seen Russia pass it. We have seen the Abraham Accord nations pass it. We have seen almost every nation in the world get their Clarity Act equivalent legislation passed. America will bolt onto that architecture last, because if it bolted on first and there's still 23 stranglers out there that don't have their house in order, they're going to get blown out of the water. They're not going to make it. They're not going to be able to catch up with the world's most powerful economy, the energy capital of the world, the crypto capital of the world, the AI capital of the world, the military capital of the world, the energy capital. If America bolts on and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of trillions of dollars begin to flood onto the blockchain, like we know they're going to come October 15, the DTCC, Todd, has said they've already tested on July 15, transitioning their assets. For those that don't know, the Depository Trust and Trading Corporation, the DTCC or Clearing Corporation, has about $144 trillion in assets under management. Okay, they are the backbone, the architecture, the infrastructure of the entire United States financial grid. Commodities, derivatives, stocks, bonds, options, credit default swaps, everything that transpires in the world's largest economy, the New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ, everything is the DTCC. Starting on October the 15th, which is what, 2.5 months? $144 trillion are going full speed. The captain's hitting the boat. $144 trillion are moving on chain, with or without the Clarity Act. Okay. Secondly,
and that'll be just for settlement, essentially.
That's the back end of settlement. Yeah. Well, but here's the thing: settlement will happen in 3 to 5 seconds. Value will move in 3 to 5 seconds. And liquidity must exist. Todd, there are 4 key elements to any market. One is liquidity, and it's by far and away, you know this as a bond trader, if you don't have a liquid pair, you can have all the infrastructure in the world and all the smart contracts and all the great collateral. You can have it all. And if there's no bid and ask, the market doesn't work.
Sure.
Right? You have to have liquidity. So that is what must happen. And if the DTCC is moving in 2.5 months and they have to have liquidity, what does that tell you must happen between now and October 15th?
You got to have the rails in place, right?
Well, the rails are in place.
Yeah.
The rails have been in place. There's no doubt about that. If they pass the legislation with a hammer on Monday, boom, they're just turning the highway. The highway's paved. This is just about cutting the ribbon to let the cars go down the highway.
Let me ask you, I'm old enough to remember T+7 or 7 days for settlement. You're talking T plus a few seconds is what you're saying.
3 to 5 seconds. Exactly. Instantaneous quantum computing, speed of light, instantaneous settlement with compliance, asset verification, ledgering, and settlement. All of it. It's either all 100% green light or it doesn't settle. And once it settles, there's a singular record of truth that can never be changed, can never be edited. You'll have 300 nodes around the world that have copies of the single record of truth that all countries, nations, companies, and parties can look at as the record of truth, not an institution's narrative, not trust the bank, trust the Fed, trust Bank of America, trust, the BIS.
Mm-hmm.
It is going to be not trust me. It's going to be show me, verify.
All right. This is always the argument on both sides here. I just want to give you a comment from one of our readers. She's saying Vietnam has cut their population off of the banks because they refuse digital ID. Will you require digital ID in essentially financial control grid with this system? Well, how do you answer that?
We have digital IDs right now in everything we do. We have a digital ID if we have a bank account. If you go and open a bank account, you have what's called KYC and anti-money laundering. They have to know that Todd is Todd and Rob is Rob.
Mm-hmm.
In verifying through compliance, my wallet is my wallet. This is my asset. I am intending to transfer and trade my asset with Todd, and Todd is Todd. It's Todd's wallet and it's Todd's ability to receive it, and Todd's clear. There is only one way that mathematical calculation can be validated and verified and compliance checked, and that is to have a digital representation that I'm not a bot. I'm not in Korea. I do have the assets. I'm not overdrafting my digital wallet. You can't have a bounce check charge because if I ain't got $25 to send you and I've only got 19, I can't send you 25. I can't write a check that bounces because if the collateral's not there, the collateral's not there. So what people don't understand, Todd, is that I understand the fear narrative. Oh my God, digital ID, mark of the beast, we're all going to die. Wrong. Math is a science from God. Omniscience, okay? The lawgiver gave us laws and principles, and math is one of those perfect laws, okay? For us to verify a transaction in 3 to 5 seconds, there's a string of variables in a mathematical equation that have to all be true in order for the settlement to happen. They can't guess at my identity. They can't guess at yours. If they want to keep the middlemen and the institutions and the central banks and the Federal Reserve and all of these people that put their hands in between a transaction, Todd, between me and you, the system has to know that I'm me and you're you. The only way for this mathematical clarity and speed and settlement and point-to-point transfer to ever happen is the mathematical equation has to be able to have all the variables to give a yes or a no. No digital ID, no compliance, no participation. You cannot move to distributed ledger technology if you can't identify the true participants on the system. Otherwise, it's going to be wrought with fraud.
That makes sense. I mean, so how do you comfort people that say, well, then they can cut off my money if I don't, get the vaccine?
Because the regulation doesn't allow that to happen. There's no strings attached to usage of the system. That is a legacy thing. The private script, Todd, came from the printing press of the Federal Reserve. Then they loaned that private property to the Treasury and charged the Treasury interest for using that private script. We're now going to a sovereign nation, a treasury of the United States. A sovereign nation is printing the money.
Right.
And there are no strings attached to mandatory shots, to income taxation, to CRT, to DEI, and to climate science. There is no string attached to using sovereign currency created by a constitutional republic. There were strings attached to private script created by the Rothschilds.
I understand all that. I mean, and I'm just playing devil's advocate, obviously, because there's a lot of people out there, but we've all seen the videos of Chinese trying to get on the subway and their thing doesn't work and they can't get on because they said something wrong or whatever. How do you respond to that?
Todd, the CCP is nothing but an extension of the CIA, which is an extension of the City of London. Okay. And the City of London would have loved more than anything in this world to kill half the population, get rid of Trump, put in Biden, put in Obama, get rid of America and have a one world government and have their wet dream of a CCP control grid take place.
Yeah.
They would love that. That was their plan. And President Trump has said, over my dead body, there will be no central bank digital currency, period. There'll be a United States digital dollar, but that's not a private NGO, unaccountable City of London usury script. The U.S. constitutional money with sound weights and measures, a unit of a certain amount of gold and a certain amount of silver that's in inventory where the collateral can be seen. There has to be a relationship between the currency in circulation and the collateral that's being held. Otherwise, you have what's called fiat currency. If we don't have sound collateral, then we're printing we're creating a Ponzi scheme. We are moving away from the Ponzi scheme. And when you move away from the Ponzi scheme, you don't have this CCP, CBDC measuring every word you say and every ounce of meat you eat. That is a wet dream of the old world that is not coming into our new world.
So let me ask you, who is pushing for the CBDC? Because, you hear a lot, and I think the current regulation or current legislation bans it until 2030. I mean, why haven't they just banned it completely? Do you know?
Because they are doing the powers that be that have owned and controlled the world through the world reserve currency. Their compromise is to wait till Trump's out, give it 5 days, let it sunset, take the election, take the country back, and we can undo the election then. They don't want it to be permanent because they want to do whatever they can do to keep this legislation from being codified so it can sunset and they can go back to their old ways of a world reserve currency and a CBDC. That is, Todd, one of the biggest tells that we have is their compromises. Well, okay, we'll let you do it. First of all, it's a fantasy to think they can let this system migrate onto the new highways where we have 3 or 4 quadrillions of dollars of trades value taking place every single year, and then in 2030 unwind it. It's never going to happen. It's a fantasy on their part. But once you give sovereignty back to 207 nations and they can control their own nations, that would be like trying to give, welfare, free rent, free food, and welfare to 100 million Americans, and then all of a sudden we're taking all that back now.
Well, it's obvious to me, and all this drives to the elections, right? I mean, you have to not let this, whatever it is, back in power, and you can't let the DSA in power either, because they're talking about getting rid of the military, defunding the military, getting rid of the Senate, all this garbage. So that to me is where we're headed with all this. Any thoughts on the midterms? You're down in Georgia. How do you see things right now?
This is such an interesting question, Todd. I was asked this on an interview I was on last night. What is the power structure, the global swamp.
Mm-hmm.
What are their options today? And I came up with 3.
Mm-hmm.
One is assassinate their problem, get rid of their problem, which they've done and tried a whole lot.
Sure.
Number 2, try to create World War III.
That's ongoing.
Try to poke the bear, try to drop a bomb, try to do something. And number 3, steal the election in the midterms. Those are their 3. They're down to those 3 options, Todd. And that's why you've seen, number 1, what President Trump is doing in the Strait of Hormuz is declawing the city of London. They're not fighting the Iran mullahs. They're fighting those that fund these radical communist, Marxist, socialist freaks. His war is not against the loving 90 million Persians. It's not against Persia. It's against the assholes controlled by the money printers. And
I totally get that connection. I mean, it's quite obvious.
It's quite obvious. So when we end that 47-year hostage taking of the Persian people by the quote unquote mullahs, which is just a mask for the city of London, the Abraham Accords click into place, and Jews and Christians and Muslims all get together and they trade together, and the never-ending conflict in the Middle East goes away because those that are profiting by funding the never-ending conflict can no longer do that.
What do you think about, and last question, and then I'll let you say whatever you want to say, but a lot of the pump and dumps that have been happening in the crypto world kind of gives it a bad name. How do you deal with that issue? I mean, is it just, you beware the risk? Is that how you deal with it?
Well, Todd, there have been snake oil salesmen and money manipulators and con men throughout world history. That element, that weakness, that human virus, if you will, that is always trying to take and steal and lie and deceive and divide and prey on our emotions, it's never going away. I mean, people in the market are going to try to, if they tell you, what does Warren Buffett say? When there's blood in the street, buy.
Yep.
Markets run on fear and emotions. The retail person who doesn't really understand what's going on are much more vulnerable to the fear narratives. They get rid of everything right before the Clarity Act passes, and boom. I want to leave your audience with this one point, Todd. I went back and looked at, for those of that can remember, back in 1995, this little company called Netscape created a web browser called Mozilla. And that was the first internet browser that allowed you to make the internet come alive. Okay. And people went berserk over this IPO. Okay. I went back and I looked at it. Why is this important? And why did I ask the question? Because look, the infrastructure of the internet, Todd, is called TCP/IP, the transfer control protocol, the internet protocols, how emails go from my inbox to your inbox, how that's all standard across the world so that the internet plumbing works. Okay. That stock went public in November of 1995. And the 5-year compounded average growth rate for the proxy of the internet was 68%. 5 year. That means, for the audience that doesn't know, that means it doubled almost every single year. Okay. The TCP/IP of the Internet of Value is the open source, non-sovereign, free to the world infrastructure known as the XRP ledger and the interledger protocol. That's the TCP/IP of the Internet of Value. It's the equivalent of the Internet of Data and Communications. Okay. When the Clarity Act passes and all the countries can interoperate and there's clarity around the world and the TCP/IP gets board defensible codified legislation, we are going to see a switchover of a tsunami of assets in every category, tokenized asset. Go look at any financial firm in the world that's endorsing this Clarity Act. Fidelity, Charles Schwab, BlackRock, Bank of America, American Express, the entire fintech community. People the world over are endorsing the Clarity Act because with that clarity, we're going to have an internet of value come alive that is far more impactful to the world than the internet of information and data. Now we're going to have information, data, and value that can move around the world without a bank's interference, without a third-party middleman. Okay? When there is no third-party middleman involved, you go back to mutual consent. Only if Todd and I both agree to transfer value, we get to transfer value, and we don't have a gun to our head, and that we can't transfer value unless we take one of these in the arm.
Yeah, well, that's the concern, obviously. I mean, I get everything you're saying. I just, we got to make sure that doesn't ever happen, because that's A or B. It's a binary choice, right?
It's vigilance. Yeah. The freedom is never free. And the responsibility for vigilance, governance, is rest on our shoulders. We cannot outsource it to the swamp, the mayor, the governor that we like, a political tribe. We have to take self-governance in our own lives, families, and communities. If we outsource it and put our trust in institutions instead of trusting God, we're already headed in the wrong direction.
Well, I'll tell you, BlackRock and Fidelity behind it doesn't excite me, but I get the argument you're making that the liquidity has to be there and the rails have to be set up, and we need to be able to avoid the $35 charge if you bounce a check, or you go to dinner and your card doesn't work and you're with a client because some bank decided they didn't like what you spent 10 minutes ago. I mean, I hate that crap.
Well, Todd, I do too, but you have to understand the banking model makes money on usury interest, transactions, overdrafts, fees, and wire charges. They do something that is utterly unnecessary. At a minimum, Fidelity wants to see my assets go up as much as you do because they get to charge 0.5% or 1% on more money.
Sure.
Those that manage wealth are at least purportedly on the same side as we are, even though they manipulate markets, even though they will buy when they're telling people to sell, because they do that because transaction volatility makes money. Okay. But net, if I were to invest $100,000 at Fidelity, I want to see that go to 200 grand, and they want to see that go to 200 grand because they get to charge a fee on 200 grand. If I invest $100,000 in Bank of America in a checking account, they're going to give me 0.5%. They don't want me to move it, and they're going to lend it out at 6% on a car loan.
No, I get the model. I guess you mentioned governance. I mean, that's what has to happen because we have to look at antitrust on some of these issues. I mean, BlackRock's too big, in my opinion. They control too much.
Todd, we have to, part of stewardship and governance is becoming our own banker. We have to change our mindset. We have to learn how to be a banker, how to be as wise as Solomon, how to stake our assets, borrow against them, get yield off our assets, never sell our assets, put them in proper trust, put them in proper structures. We have to change our mindset from consumers that only care about the cheapest price, and that's it, make all my boo-boos go away. Stewardship requires our understanding of managing our resources, our time, our families, our health, our wealth. Everything about us falls on our shoulders. So there's a relearning curve. When we get disconnected from all these big brothers and big sisters that pat all of our boo-boos and tell us how we must live, well, we're going to get our freedom back. But what happened to the Jews after they left Egypt? For 40 years, they bitched and moaned because they didn't know what the hell to do. They didn't know how to self-govern themselves. So my point is, we're going to make a jailbreak, and we're going to get out of this tax slavery and debt slavery system. But then the burden comes to us. Now, what are you going to do about it?
How do you protect wallets, Rob, from all this hacking? I mean, there's a real problem with do you just keep it in some kind of cold wallet on your own and transfer it in when you need to? Or what do you think?
Well, the good news is I do both. I make sure that I have a cold wallet which all that means is you have like a thumb drive or a device. It's not connected to the web. Only I have the keys. And if I have the keys, only I can make the assets in this cold wallet go to you, go to Schwab, go to pay my mortgage, go to swipe it with a credit card and pay my, whatever. But if I have the keys on this physical device that's detached from the internet, no other person in the world has my keys. If I go to Charles Schwab or I go to Uphold or I go to Coinbase and I deposit money there and I buy or put in an order to own some stock or crypto, Coinbase owns those keys. As of today, if Coinbase were to go bankrupt under bankruptcy laws, they could claim our assets as part of their estate.
Exactly.
When the Clarity Act passes, they cannot. No matter what happens, there will be a separation. They are not ever allowed to be estate assets, and they are bankruptcy remote. And then they will have to get their houses together or they will go out of business, because those that don't set up a wealth management value add for people that are now dealing in digital assets, Todd, we're going to see 80 or 85% of the banks go away. They're not going to innovate. We're going to see 80 or 85% of the employees at banks and the real estate that houses them and the revenues at traditional banks go away. The only ones that are going to make it are going to be those that know how to add value to the wealth management process instead of extract fees from it.
Well, Rob, I want to have you back and go through the Clarity Act as it gets closer and really understand it, because I need to know more. And I appreciate your wealth of knowledge. So thanks for coming on, man. I'm out of time. I got to bring Willie, Lora in, but thank you so much, and we'll have you back. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Todd.
All right. Take care, brother.
Every day, your data is being tracked, collected, and sold, often without you even realizing it. Big tech companies control your devices, your apps, and the information you share. From your messages to your browsing habits, everything is being monitored and stored. Over time, we've traded privacy for convenience, and most people don't even question it. But what if you could take that control back? That's where Mark 37 comes in. Mark 37 provides privacy-focused phones, laptops, and tablets designed to give you full control over your digital life. With secure systems, expert support, and simple tools, they make it easier to step away from constant tracking and data collection. Because privacy isn't just a feature, it's a fundamental choice. It's about protecting your data, your freedom, and your future. Take back control of your digital life with Mark 37.
A warm welcome here at the National Press Club. Welcome to the journalists, welcome to the Embra team, and welcome to the other guests that we have here. Going to announce, and as some of you guessed it right when they came in, the first E2 order by an American operator. And that operator is Avello. We believe this is really a strategic shift to unlock profitability for the customer. I'm very pleased that we have Andrew Levy here as the CEO of Avello, and I'm very pleased to give the stage to share a little bit more about what Avello is going to do with the E2 195. Thank you very much.
Couldn't be more excited to be here as part of this historic announcement. We have such a great cultural fit as companies, so we're very, very excited to be Embraer's newest customer. We launched our airline in April of 21, and our target is focusing on small secondary airports of large metro areas. We've carried over 8 million customers since we started on 63,000 flights. And we've done all these things with 1,200 of the greatest crew members I could ever imagine having, and many of them are here with me today. This is the right airplane for us. It's going to open up opportunities for us that no other aircraft can serve. The best thing about the airplane, of course, is you will not find a middle seat on this airplane. It doesn't exist. We won't have any to offer. It's going to be the best cabin in the United States, and we're so excited about that. This is going to elevate our experience to the highest level, and we think our customers are absolutely going to love the airplane.
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
Okay, welcome back to the SCIF. I just want to make sure you understand something that's happening in Ukraine. Conservative influencer Laura Loomer, which I've had a lot of interaction with over the last decade. We've done a few stories together, and then I was on the Doomsday plane with Secretary Hegseth on the way to LA to investigate the Arsenal of Democracy, Arsenal of Freedom tour when he was building that about a year ago. Not a year, but 6 to 8 months ago. So I know her well, and I was quite shocked when she showed up in Ukraine supporting and enabling the Zelensky government and saying she's Ukrainian. And, we're not pro-Russian or pro-Ukrainian, we're pro-humanity, and we want the war to end and the killing to stop. And what we see is literally a satanic ritual that's killing about 50,000 Christian men a week. The majority of them are Christian Slavs. Some mercenaries coming in from North Korea and Africa, et cetera, but it's essentially depopulating Ukraine of the Christian presence. We don't like that. And I was quite shocked when Laura showed up supporting this. So I want to play this for you, and then we'll talk about it some more.
Hey everybody, Laura Loomer here. I am currently in Ukraine at the world famous SCIF drone manufacturing facility. I am holding the P1 Sun drone interceptor, and you may have seen this drone interceptor recently because it's the same exact drone interceptor that was held by Senator Lindsey Graham just 2 days before he tragically passed away. Now, a lot of people are not aware of this, but Senator Lindsey Graham was actually celebrating his 71st birthday the day that he visited this drone facility in Ukraine. And so to honor the senator spending his birthday with them, SCIF actually used one of their drones to hold a sign that said, "Happy birthday, Senator Lindsey Graham." Now, they were going to gift the senator with one of these drone interceptors. They actually did gift him with one of these drone interceptors, but nobody knew that he would be dead just 2 days later. And so
I still don't know what's going on with the whole Lindsey Graham death. I think there's a lot there that needs to be unpacked. But I wrote this article over the weekend or late last week. You can't make this stuff up. Two non-Christians pretend to be concerned about Christianity, while one of them is literally destroying Christianity in Ukraine. So we've interviewed Robert Amsterdam, who's Jewish, by the way, attorney in London, and we discussed the ongoing effort at the time under the Biden administration and then the Trump administration, the destruction of the Russian Orthodox Church. Actually, the Ukrainian Orthodox Church is separate from Russia, and the establishment of a new CCP-like Orthodox Church of Ukraine run by Zelensky. So they're replacing, as Robert says, a 1,000-year-old church with a 5-year-old church. And so Laura Loomer is enabling this entire thing. And we don't like it, and we're going to continue to talk about it because it's the right thing to do. I just want you to be aware of that. All right, Willie Lora is supposed to come in here any minute. He was in, and hold on, let me see what's going on with Willie. 1 second. Having trouble hearing you. Hang on, working on it. Okay, so we're going to take another break. We'll be right back, and when Willie comes in, we'll get rolling with everything we need to talk about on the midterms with Mr. Lora. Stand by.
For the first time ever, we're bringing you MyPillow mattresses and mattress toppers for as low as $99.98. Remember, sleep's all about temperature and pressure points. Whatever sleep needs you have, we have the right technology for you. Like our MyPillow mattress topper, our queen size has over 10,000 individual comfort supports to help relieve your pressure points. And how about our 3-inch Hybrid Plus mattress topper? It's infused with copper and silver to help your body get the restorative sleep it needs. And our MyPillow and Case Coil mattresses, I personally helped develop these mattresses to make sure they have everything needed to give us great sleep. Plus, they're made right here in the USA, and they ship right to your front door absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to get MyPillow mattresses and toppers for as low as $99.98 and free shipping.
I'm watching my friends gain more and more weight, and then eventually I got to tell you, this is a little dark, but bad diet literally killed my whole crew.
Wow.
Diabetes, a stroke. I mean, all kinds of stuff. It's like, you had a stroke? You're not even 50 years old. You guys got to quit eating this stuff. Your body knows what's what. You're not conscious of this. But that's why people will go to the refrigerator and they'll grab this and that and the other and put together this outrageously elaborate combination of foods. Your body's trying to reach balance. Unbeknownst to us, our bodies are always trying to reach homeostasis. You can't eat all of this stuff and expect to live a long time. And one thing led to another, and I went, forget this. We're going to make our own product. So we partnered with one of the world's top 3 biochemists where nutrition-specific study is concerned. I said, all I want is the best nutritional and immune support product in the world. So we mixed it in yogurt. It's a powder. I got a bag of it here. I keep one on the console all the time, just so I can show people.
Yeah.
And it's a powder. Now, this is not candy. This is hardcore nutrition. And sugar is an enemy. And most people do not know that the reason these bellies are showing up on people all over the place, your body makes fat to store the toxins it can't get rid of. So it just puts them over here. But I can tell you this, you take this for 30 days and then lay off of it for 2 or 3 days, and you'll go, good grief, give me some more. Skin, nails, hair growing back. Cut yourself and it heals in half the time.
Put silver wings on my son's chest. Make him one of America's best. He'll be a man. He'll test one day. Have him win the Green Beret.
So I've got a target of opportunity here. Our CDM Espanol, the guy who runs the business, as well as many others, I was able to get him on at 11 this morning. So we're going to talk midterms. I'm going to bring Willie Lora in real quick. Willie, thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, good morning. I'm sorry it took a little longer. I was having some Wi-Fi issues, but we're good. So
is that our new studio down in Houston, my friend?
This is a new studio down in Houston, CDM Espanol. It's great. We're looking good. We're sounding good, and we're excited.
You look good, and we look forward to more changes. And by the way, our people that reading our stuff on CDM may have noticed we're just in Lebanon, and we are building a desk in the Middle East as well as Asia, and we also have staff in Europe. So you'll be seeing a lot more articles from those geographies literally overnight. So those will be posting in the morning as those desks return information and stories that we can't do all night long because we have to get some sleep. But Willie, what's happening in the midterms in the Hispanic community, man? What do you see?
Well, what's happening, and we've been talking to a lot of people down here in Houston, and we actually went yesterday to some of the Hispanic market, and there's some concern with the whole thing with immigration, but at the same time, they understand that something had to be done. So people are kind of divided in terms of the whole immigration thing, even though they kind of question the method they're using, but they understand that something needed to be done.
Okay. And is that going to impact the midterms positively or negatively, do you think?
I think it all depends. It's like a lot of the people you talk to, they don't have, they can vote. They just do emotionally, they respond to questions. But the Latinos that actually can vote, they understand that might be a problem, but they also understand that it's a politically charged environment. And they want to make sure that when they do the vote, they do it the right way. Just like they understand that if something happened with an ICE agent that broke the law and did something illegal, they understand that there's a process for them to be dealt with. It's like we can't just get rid of a system because one or two people did something that was pretty bad. We have a process for that. Otherwise, we'll be kind of like another third world country that with rules, the rule of law doesn't matter. So it applies to everybody, even to federal agents.
So you've spent a lot of time in Miami. You're in Houston now, but you're in Miami often. It seems like the whole system there is maybe controlled by a lot of the cartels. Real estate has been a big vector for people to launder money, and obviously that's going on to some extent in Miami.
Yeah.
What do you see with the cartel influence in the U.S.?
Well, right I think it's big. We're seeing a lot of these cities, a lot of new buildings, and a lot of empty stores, big stores. The issue in Miami is it actually became a more expensive city to live than New York, which is kind of weird, but it is. And it's so influenced a lot of that money, and everything is so expensive.
Yeah, so I think we can see that in Miami. We can see that in other cities, but the influence is there. It's a lot of money coming through from the cartels in Mexico and other countries.
Is this hitting drug boats in the oceans approaching the U.S.? Is that helping, hurting, working, not working?
There's some reports that I was laughing the other day. They said, well, I think I read something on the Washington Post saying that, well, it hasn't had any impact. It's like, of course he has. You know, you have a whole bunch of people that die and a whole bunch of people that are actually thinking twice about getting on a boat to bring drugs to the U.S. Of course it has had an impact. If you talk to people that in that part of the world that understand the business, they actually afraid. You know, it's a deterrent. You know, nobody wants to go out there and then try to use the U.S. media to say, hey, you know, they were just fishing boats. I say, you know, and every time we have an incident like that, nobody finds any fish, but they do find a lot of bricks of drugs floating on the ocean. So that's the reality. But, you know, the media doesn't want to cover it that way. They want to look at sympathy and fishing boats. Everybody knows that actually deal with Latin America and drug trafficking, that they're not, you know, fishing boats. It's just, you know, a whole lot of lies. And we need to see the things the way they are. It has an impact. People are thinking twice or three times before they get on the boat and try to smuggle things into the U.S.
So we were talking about Rob Cunningham earlier, that USAID cutting off that funding flow into Latin America with a lot of these NGOs, and you've seen 7 of 8 countries flip from left to right. Is that a continuing? Is the public behind this? Is that what Latin America wants? What do you 100%, think?
100%. I think that it was a huge money laundering operation. There was a lot of money that was going into these NGOs that actually got turned around to finance campaigns in Washington, political campaign, especially for Democrats and the left of the U.S. So obviously by cutting off that funding, and by the way, it is funding that is still there for programs that actually works and they're meant to be that way. I mean, that funding was a big hit to that kind of operation of trying to refinance campaigns here in the U.S. to maintain a 2030 agenda on socialism and the Western Hemisphere. So we've seen how Colombia turned, Ecuador turned, and the only 2 countries that we have that still have hardcore socialism is Cuba and Nicaragua. And we saw the president of Nicaragua the other day coming out publicly and saying that there's never going to be an election in Nicaragua.
I saw that.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy and insane. But right now, it actually is irrelevant to the I guess the national security for the U.S. is relevant. Nicaragua doesn't represent a threat. It represents a threat to the region, you know, together with Cuba. But Cuba is being dealt with, and I think Nicaragua will be dealt with at due time. I think it's not a national security priority for the U.S. right now.
Well, I see it as kind of an example. People can look and see what happens if you let this kind of government in. I mean, the guys, it's classic, you know, you can vote your way in, you got to shoot your way out. I mean, that's what's going on in Nicaragua, straight up in your face right now.
Yeah, and you know, I laugh because here in the U.S. you see socialism and blah blah blah, and democratic socialism. I don't believe in that. You can't have Democrats and socialists at the same time. That doesn't exist. You're either a Democrat that lives under a democracy, or you're a socialist. You can't have it both ways. So I think that it's an experiment that people that wants to try it, they're more than welcome to go to these countries, Cuba, Nicaragua, and have a taste of it. You know, it's really good to do it from the U.S., from a comfortable position when you have everything that you want, to talk about socialism. It's completely different than when you're there in the country. I've been in those countries. I've actually been kicked out of one of those countries once in my lifetime. So, you know, understanding what happens in these countries, you need to be there. You need to actually try it to see if that's actually what you want in the U.S.
Totally agree, my friend. So last question, I'll let you go. I know you're busy, but what about Cuba? What's the latest happening there?
Well, the pressure continues. I think the State Department is doing a great job and putting a lot of pressure, the White House as well. There's been conversations and negotiations, but I don't see that regime staying for a long time. A lot of the money that they were using were coming from oil from Venezuela. That's been cut off. The U.S. has allowed Russia to send a couple of ships just to, you know, have the people not die from hunger, but they can't sustain it. So I think there's going to be a resolution hopefully soon on the Cuba issue, because the people are just we're seeing things in Cuba that we haven't seen before. You know, the protests on the street, burning building, people on the street, they're just really tired, you know, of 67 years of neglect.
Willie, thank you. Is there anything else? Tell us about CDM Espanol. What do you want to get out?
CDM Espanol is we're coming up with new products, new podcasts. I think it's very exciting times. Midterm election is really important for the community, so we're going to be doing a lot of work regarding to that. So come and if you're in the Houston area, just reach out to us, and we'll be good to have a conversation with you about what you think about what's going on in the country. Midterm elections, like I said, is going to be a big thing. So we put in a lot of interest and focus on that.
Yeah, we need to talk about that and plan for that. All right, Willie, my friend, thank you for your time, man. I'll let you go.
You're more
Have a
than
good
welcome.
day. All right, take care.
Yeah.
Bye.
Well, in the case of hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, these are two medications that have been FDA approved for use in humans for decades. They are very, very inexpensive. Interestingly, available over the counter in almost every other country other than the US and Canada. You can just walk into a pharmacy and buy them like we buy Tylenol in much of the world because they're that safe. And we've known for decades that ivermectin has very strong antiviral properties. It has anti-inflammatory properties, and both ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine are what we call zinc ionophores. They help to move zinc from the bloodstream into the cell, which is where it needs to be in order to fight off a virus. So lots of application for these, and we have every reason to believe that those drugs also will likely have some efficacy against H5N1 or a number of other respiratory viruses that we may meet down the road.
If you haven't noticed, gold has reached a new high, all-time highs actually, and keeps going up every day. Why is that? It's because precious metals are a long-time historical store of value. And if you own a portfolio and you have assets in the fiat currencies, i.e. stocks, bonds, cash, or whatever, you're vulnerable to hyperinflation, which is coming as our debt explodes another trillion every 90 days. It's really scary. So how do you protect yourself? Go to Advisor Metals. If you look on any of our cdm.press sites, about halfway down, there's an ad for Advisor Metals. Click on it, fill out the form for your contact info, and Ira Bishotsky will contact you and talk to you. It's an easy conversation. There's no sales pitch. He's completely verified by us. He has a regulatory background we've checked into. We've checked with his bankers. We've checked with his IRA custodians for metals, and we can highly recommend Advisor Metals and IRA. So go to Advisor Metals. If you call them directly, tell them we sent you at CDM, and he'll definitely take care of you. But protect your portfolio because you really need to. It's coming. Thank you. All right, let's talk about some stories you need to be aware of. Telegram founder Pavel Durov, I think he's living in France. He was arrested by the French and had to make a deal behind the scenes, and that, or you could say probably a backdoor to Telegram. But he has been put on the terrorist list in Russia because Telegram is being used by the Ukrainians in the war effort, and that has not been stopped. So he is persona non grata in the Russian Federation. It's interesting. A lot of censorship going on, my friends, and we need to maintain our privacy and ways to communicate without government interference. Overnight, big fire strike on Iran by the U.S. military. Looks to be more of a defensive strike to further reduce capabilities as far as to launch rockets and to hit U.S. aircraft and other troops in the region. Doesn't look like a full return of the war. So that's a good thing. We're going to continue on that story. Also in Gaza, a framework's allegedly been developed according to the Times of Israel. You can find this article on CDM, but it's not closed yet. So that is a big thing. And we will continue on this story. But the Trump's Board of Peace is continuing to try and bring a resolution to that subject, but it's not there yet. But you can find that on CDM. Also, a Russian cruise missile hit Poland and caused a big crater explosion. We don't know if it was intentional, kind of a light tap by the Russians, like stop funding and enabling the Ukrainians, or else? Or was it just drawn off course by electronic warfare by Ukraine? A lot of stuff going on and impossible to tell, but it's a significant event, as really could be an intentional strike by Russia on NATO territory, which would trigger Article 5. And it's obviously being done because NATO is involved in the war and is essentially waging war against the Russian Federation via a proxy in Ukraine. And then last story, let's see what else I'm missing here. I think that's about it for today. Please put CDM.press in your daily scan. Please sign up for our socials. You can go to CDM1 on Rumble or CDM on YouTube. Please follow us there if you haven't done it. Please follow us on CDM_press on X. One thing you can do today is go to CDM_press on X and follow us. We're in a big battle with X. We gain 25 followers, we lose 30. I mean, that's how it's, one step forward, two steps back. I mean, they do not want us to grow, and we really need people to continue to follow. And if you followed us in the past, go back and check and make sure you're still following us at CDM_press on X. We really need to grow that channel. So much going on. I didn't expect to have Willie in, and I didn't expect to go along with Rob. So tomorrow we'll talk about Fauci with Bill Quinn, and also Promethean Action with the other gentleman or lady, I forget her name, Barbara Bowden, I think, to discuss what's happening with the whole Fauci thing, with the Zelensky Netanyahu thing in the White House. All of that needs to be looked at and explained, and they're very good at it. So we'll have them tomorrow. Thank you for coming on. Oh, I need you to support us financially, just to be blunt. I need you to go to CDM_press, CDM.press, top menu, and support us. Make a donation if you can. We really need to raise money right here to fund a lot of reporting projects we're doing. And also our no ad subscriptions. You get something for this, and so do we. You go to my.cdm.press, my.cdm.press. It's $10 a month or $100 a year. Most people just pay the $100, get it out of the way. But it gives you access to all of our content across all of our sites, which we're putting out a lot of content and video work everywhere, and it's going to grow. I just said we've built our overseas desks in Asia, in the Middle East, in the Levant, and in Europe. As you know, we have staff in Europe. And so this is costing a lot of money, and we need to continue to grow and build the kind of reporting you need to see. So the best thing you can do is go to my.cdm.press and sign up for our no ad subscriptions. All right. Thank you very much. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll have Fauci reporting and the Promethean Action tomorrow, along with another guest. Monday through Friday, 10 to noon on the SCIF. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.